to boldly tow where no Hemi half-ton has towed before. Well, not really. But with major upgrades, we'll test this Ram's pulling power. Plus, tuning secrets and the basics of dent repair. All today, here on Truck Tech.
Well, let's say you bought yourself a new truck, or maybe you have a freshly painted one. You pull into a parking lot somewhere and you get one of those from a shopping cart, or some jerk slams their door into your truck. Now that'll make for a pretty bad day. But let's say you've got a show truck and you're running down the road, a rock slings up and you get a dent like this. Now, other than getting sick to your stomach, the first thing you want to do is repair them. Now, if you're anything like we are here, you don't want to pay somebody to do it for you. Now, this is certainly something you can accomplish yourself, so don't get intimidated by a repair like this. It just takes a little bit of know-how and some patience. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to repair these dents, and we'll take it all the way from dent repair to blending paint. Now, the first tool I'm going to use is this Matco stud gun. Now, it's great for when you can't get behind panels to use a hammer and dolly. And it's also pretty cool because we don't have to use that old school method of running a sheet metal screw into our dent and using a puller to pull it out that way. Because, well, you're putting a hole in your fender, you're making it weaker, and to repair it right, you'd have to weld the hole back up. And I see a lot of guys filler work right over the hole, which is not a lifetime repair. Now, our stud gun uses these copper-coated draw pins that weld directly to the panel, and the gun itself creates very little heat. So we'll go ahead and grind some of this paint off here and get a stud welded on. I'm using an angle grinder with 36 grit to get down to bare metal. What we want to do is weld a stud into the dent where it took the impact. You want to try to work the dent out in the same direction it went in. Now, a lot of times when you have a dent like this and the metal pushes in, it creates a crown around the outer edge of the dent. So once you've got it worked out with the puller a little bit, a method I like to use is pulling pressure on the puller while massaging the metal down towards the stud. This just helps the metal go right back where it came from. A great feature to the stud gun is once you're done, just cut off the draw pin and grind away what's left. Well, there you go. Didn't have to drill any holes in the panel. Came out really good. I believe all we'll need is just a skim coat of filler and it'll take care of that. Let's move on to the next dent. Now for this dent, which is called an outie, we're going to use a hammer and dolly technique because we can get behind the panel. I'm using a toe dolly since it's relatively flat. And typically two techniques are used on a dent like this: hammer on and hammer off. When hammering on dolly, you're sandwiching the metal between the hammer and dolly. The dolly is for support while knocking down the high spot. Another technique to repair an outie is hammer off dolly. In this case, the dolly is held so that it touches the low metal, and you hammer on the nearby high spots. The hammer makes the high spots go down, and the rebounding action of the dolly moves the low spots up, flattening out the dent. Massaging your metal beforehand will pay off before doing filler work. If you were to take a dent like our first one and just filler work over it, well, you will run into a couple of problems. First, you don't want your filler to be that thick. If it's thicker than manufacturer specifications, on down the road, it will bust or crack on you. And number two, when you have a high outer crown like we had with this dent and you just wipe over it, once you start blocking, you're going to run into that high spot every time. Once you attempt to make the panel straight by continuing to wipe over it, you're just going to create a larger work area than you needed to have. You're just creating more work for yourself. This is why it's key to do the proper metal work before going into filler work. Now with our dents, we were able to keep the repair area so small that we can concentrate our blend right here and just mask off the surrounding panels. Now next time we work on this fender, we'll finish out these spots and I'll show you the basics of blending.
Later, we don't need no stinking badges. But up next, LT plays us a tune.
Guys like us need more horsepower. Not just want it, we definitely need it. Now, In the old days, you could go down to your local speed shop, pick up a cam, maybe a set of headers, and you could bolt them on and be good to go with just a jet change and maybe a timing adjustment. But those days are long gone. You can't bolt the same parts onto a modern fuel-injected engine and expect the same results without having some sort of help inside the factory computer to adjust for those changes. Now, luckily for us, the aftermarket has stepped up and offers solutions for us modern gearheads wanting more power out of fuel-injected engines. In fact, the most popular first modification people make to their trucks is some sort of a tuner. While an off-the-shelf tuner is great for stock or near-stock power levels, once you start getting serious with modifications, it just won't cut it anymore. This Silverado, for example, had a cam swap. And if we were to make no other adjustments to the truck's computer, well, it wouldn't run properly, much less make the power that we were after. So what do we do to fix the problem? We need a couple tools and a little bit of know-how. The first tool we need is a piece of software that can read the tune file from your truck's computer. In our case, we are using HP Tuner's VCM suite. It's a powerful package that allows us to alter many of the parameters inside the truck's engine control module and allows us to reflash the ECM after making changes. Secondly, we'll need a piece of software that allows us to read what's going on inside the truck's computer so we know what effect our changes will have made. This is where HP Tuner's VCM scanner comes into play. Lastly, we'll need a sensor that most vehicles don't have stock, and that's a wideband air-fuel ratio gauge. We picked up ours from Summit Racing. It's affordable as widebands go, and it's super accurate. But it's more than just a gauge. Our wideband controller actually outputs a 0 to 5 volt analog signal that can be read by our HP Tuner's interface. This will allow us to know in real time the fuel mixture that's coming out of the exhaust on our truck. First thing we need to do is read the stock tune file from the ECM. This is quick and easy with HP Tuners. Once you have the tune file, the first thing you need to do is save a backup and then save another somewhere else. If for any reason you need to start over, you will need this file. Once you reflash the truck's computer, the original is gone forever, so make a backup. Now that we have everything hooked up, we're going to start the truck and start recording some data. Inside the HP Tuner's scanner software, we're going to open it up and start recording data on a histogram. I'm going to come over here to the tuning software and compare against the main Spark Advance table. So we can see here that all the values are populating as 0, which means we have no knock retard. That's very good for our case. That means we don't have to make any changes. Now, this is by no means a step-by-step guide on how to tune your vehicle. HP Tuners is a very powerful tool, and it allows you to change thousands and thousands of parameters in your vehicle, from spark advance to fuel mixture, all the way to your transmission settings. Now, you can damage your vehicle if you don't know how to properly use these tools. I've been tuning EFI systems for a few years now, and I'm still learning the finer points of a good quality tune. So if you want to learn on your own, be prepared to spend a lot of time studying. However, most people are willing to pay a professional to dyno tune their vehicle, so hopefully this will give you a better idea of what goes on behind the tuner's laptop. On this cam swap Silverado, I've got to start dialing in the fuel mixture. On the way to work this morning, I collected some good data in the histogram I set up. I'm recording fuel mixture error against the mass airflow sensor. Let's take a look at how many samples are in each cell. In order to properly tune, it's important to spend a lot of time in each cell instead of quickly sweeping through the table. This feedback data will be used to modify the mass airflow sensor calibration to make the truck deliver the fuel it's asking for. With the feedback data side by side with the tune, you can see it's about 2 to 3% lean. I will copy the data log and multiply these values into the tune, and this should correct the lean condition. After making all the changes, go ahead and reflash the truck and go for a drive to make sure the changes you wanted to make actually happen. Now, if you want to learn more about custom tuning, there's many resources on the web that are available. Or if you feel more comfortable paying a professional, you can do that too. Depending on your vehicle and location, expect to pay anywhere between $500 to $1,000.
Next, a simple solution to an emblematic problem.
We called it Hemi Hauler, our 2013 Ram 1500.
305 horses got a kick in the rear when we added the Edelbrock E4 Supercharger. We added a custom tune that netted us a gain of 125 horses and 103 foot-pounds of torque. But we didn't stop with just power upgrades.
To give the Ram a lower stance and a more aggressive look, we added a drop kit and a set of air helper springs that will level out when we're carrying a heavy load.
There's a few more things we want to do to improve the Ram a little more. Now, since the truck's taking on more of a sinister look with the chrome wheels and running boards gone, we want to go ahead and remove the rest of the chrome by getting rid of these emblems, also known as debadging. Now, this is a fairly easy process that you can do with products you probably already have at home, like a heat gun or a blow dryer, a little bit of fishing line, and some wax and grease remover. Now, you can also use an adhesive remover that you can pick up at your local parts store. Now, these emblems are held on with double-sided tape from the factory. So the first step we're going to take, putting a little heat on them and see if we can soften up that adhesive. You want to focus your heat on the emblem and try to stay off the paint. It's okay if the paint gets warm, you just don't want to get the panel too hot. Once you're able to move the emblem with your hand, you can take fishing line to cut through the adhesive. This is a good way to get the emblem off without trying to pull it off, which could dig into your paint and cause damage. Once the emblem is off, the next step is to remove whatever adhesive tape is left over. For this, I'm using wax and grease remover and just rubbing it off. You can also use a plastic razor blade to help remove the adhesive. Once the panel is bare, you can polish out the area by hand or with a buffer, leaving a good coat of wax to protect the paint. Now, that looks really nice and is a safe and easy way to remove a factory emblem. And it only took us about 20 minutes, and well, it's really hard to mess it up that way. Now, for this emblem, we're going to go through the same steps as we did before until we get to the adhesive backing. Then I'm going to use something a little different. This is an air drill with an eraser wheel on it. Should take it off pretty quick. You can pick up one of these eraser wheels at most auto body stores, and it makes quick work of removing the adhesive. Remember, low speeds work best, and try not to stay in one spot for too long, because excessive heat will damage the paint. And we've got a couple other emblems on this truck we want to take care of, but we're going to take a little different approach to those. Now, obviously, with the way this emblem attaches to the grill, it'd be quite a bit of work to get rid of it completely. Plus, this isn't a show truck, so we're not going to take it that far. But we are going to paint it to match the truck, and we'll start by getting it prepped. A scuff pad and 320 grit sandpaper will rough up the surface for good adhesion. With it clean, I can apply a few coats of adhesion promoter. After a couple of coats and a 15-minute flash time, I'll follow up with 2 coats of black. Well, no more chrome. I like it. Looks good.
Ahead, Hemi Hauler hits the highway.
Hey guys, welcome back to Truck Tech. You know, Jeremy just finished up debadging and dechroming Project Hemi Hauler. I've got to say, looks pretty sinister.
Hey, thanks, man. And we did all that for around 20 bucks.
It's not a bad deal. You know, in just a few years, it will be federally mandated that every new car or truck come from the factory equipped with a backup camera. And for you guys who've towed a trailer every now and again, you'll understand that a camera is pretty cool technology to have. We went to Summit Racing and picked up this backup camera system that was engineered specifically for our late model Ram truck. It comes with this new tailgate handle, which actually has a molded-in backup camera, just like the factory would have. It also comes with this new rearview mirror display, which has a screen right inside it, so you can see when you're backing up. It also comes with the wiring harness and everything you need to complete the installation. And we're going to start by swapping out the tailgate handles. We do have to transfer the old lock to the new latch, then reinstall it, then fish the harness out this hole in the bottom of the tailgate. We need to use this provided template to drill a 1-inch hole in the bed to allow the harness to pass through. A little paint protects the bare metal from rust. Then the tailgate goes back on. Start routing the wires underneath the truck and toward the back seat. Pull back the carpet to expose and remove this body plug. Push the wiring harness through the hole and inside the cab. A few more pieces of trim need to move out of the way to get the wiring harness to the driver's side kick panel. Now we can install the new rear view mirror and route its wiring harness over the headliner, down the A-pillar, where it can meet up with the camera harness underneath the dash. Now that the mirror harness is attached to the camera harness, there's just 3 connections we need to make. 2 of them are at the body control module. One of them is a reverse switch 12 volts, means it gets power when the truck is switched to reverse. The other is an ignition switch 12 volt, and one is a ground. Pretty simple.
Factory sound systems have improved a lot, but like everything on Hemi Hauler, stock isn't gonna cut it. So to give the Ram some more boom, we're going with this Kicker substage powered sub upgrade kit for the 09 and up Ram Crew or Quad Cab. It's from Kicker's Vehicle Specific Solutions line. It features this molded enclosure with a 10-inch low-profile subwoofer. It'll fit right under the seat and pump out some really nice bass. The amp provides 200 watts of power to the speaker, and it also includes the harness to hook up everything to your factory radio. Best part is, it's all plug and play. There's no drilling, no cutting, no guesswork. The installation takes less than an hour and is really a no-brainer. The subunit fits perfectly in the hold underneath the rear driver's side bench. And the amp mounts under the front seat with factory hardware. Then it's just a matter of running the wires under the carpet and plugging everything in. Now with our 2 main components hooked up, our next step is to find the existing door speaker wires because we need to splice into them. Now the instructions they send with this system, they even tell us what color wires we need to look for. Once we're through with that, we'll run our power wire up to the battery and we should be good to go. Now that sounds awesome. And the great thing about this system, with it being under the seat, you don't get a much cleaner install.
For the at-home customizer, Wagner offers the MotoCoat Complete Sprayer. The heart of the system is this X-Boost turbine, which allows you to spray paint and materials without any special equipment. It has 2 different power levels for spraying thin or thick materials. Now the customized sprayer is great for those removable coatings that are the rage these days. It'll also work with any conventional automotive primers or finishes. Now the Protect sprayer is great for rubberized undercoating, bed liner, and chip guard. And you can pick up this complete system from Wagner for just under $200. Changing your brake fluid by yourself has never been easier. This is Motive Products Power Bleeder, a low-cost way to change your brake fluid and bleed the system, all in a few simple steps. It features a 2-quart tank, which is pressurized, forcing brake fluid into the vehicle's reservoir. Just pump it up and crack open the bleeder. Adapters are available for older cast iron master cylinders all the way up to modern ones with plastic threaded caps. Prices start at around $50.
We couldn't end the day without having a little fun with our lowered, blacked out Hemi Hauler.
The 2.4 drop kit adds a sinister look. But how will the Hemi Hauler live up to its name? The only way to find out is to hook up to a trailer and take her on the highway.
The backup camera we installed definitely makes it easier to hitch up to the trailer in one shot, especially if you're by yourself. And the air helper springs eliminate squat by leveling out the load.
On the highway, our half-ton Ram pulls like a dream. Thanks to the Edelbrock E4 Supercharger that netted us an additional 103 pound-feet of torque. You know, one of the first questions people ask you about the Supercharger is, man, how much more power does it make? Well, we know exactly how much more power we made on the dyno, but the most important thing is how does it feel?
You know, you can't even tell this trailer's back there. You know, before, if we were pulling a steep incline or anything like that, this thing would downshift and we were bouncing off the rev limiter the whole time. But now, like I said, you can hardly tell it's back there, which is very impressive. That was a really good upgrade for this truck.
How about fuel mileage? Have you noticed much difference? You got a few miles on the truck now.
Yeah, and if I keep my foot out of it, I'm within just a couple of miles of where the truck was before. It was getting just a little over 20 miles a gallon before, and I'm just a hair under now. But like I said, hard to keep my foot out of it.
That's the key.
All in all, Hemi Hauler turned out just as we expected. A good, reliable daily driver that looks as good as it pulls. Just don't call it a Dodge.